I seem to do it. Well, I seem to do it. Well, I seem to do it. Okay, in this quick video, we're gonna go over how not to de-ess and how to actually fix those harsh S's and SH sounds. De-essing is targeted compression of a specific frequency. These harsh S's and sometimes T sounds give your listeners that nails on a chalkboard kind of feeling, so we don't want to do that to them. We want to smooth out our sibilance without losing clarity in the vocal. And as you may have experienced, over de-essing can take away from the tone of the whole vocal, or can also make you sound like you have a lisp. You might have even heard this excess shishy sound. I'm Kimera, vocal producer, Pro Tools expert, plugin developer, and I love to help vocalists and producers get a professional sound from their home studios. If you're new here, I share weekly vocal production videos, so hit subscribe so you don't miss any. Okay, since I already have my ears pierced, here's how to fix these S sounds. Now, the most common issue I see is when people are new to recording and mixing their vocals is that their ears aren't really tuned to those subtleties, so they tend to change plugin settings to the extreme because they don't hear it doing anything. And that's when you can run into problems. With de-essing, we are going for a very subtle change, just smoothing out and lightening those S sounds. So what you're gonna have to do is you're going to have to find your actual S frequency. And here's our plugin, Less S. If you click on this button here, it does change it to suggested settings for typical ranges for different voice types. I probably use the high setting, maybe you use the mid-high. Those two are probably most needed for everyone. S's are pretty universal across all people, so even if you have a deep male voice, you might even find that the high setting works best for you. So that's a good starting point to try those settings. And if you don't feel like it's fixing your S's, this is what we're gonna do to further tweak it to your voice. So my method to identifying your exact frequency is to exaggerate the threshold, which you'll do by dragging your threshold all the way down. So what this is going to do is it's going to turn that frequency, when it hears it, down by 64 dB. That's a lot, but this is going to be annoying, and we're going to play this little part on loop, listening to those S's, and we'll adjust our frequency until we feel like it's taking away the S altogether. That means we found the right frequency, and then we can dial the threshold back. So let's try that. I seem to do it. 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 Yeah, did you hear that change when I got around the 6.7? It started really cutting out a lot of the tone. So I think that is where my bad S's are. So I'm gonna go ahead and dial back this threshold until it sounds nice and even. It doesn't sound like I have a lisp. It doesn't sound like I'm removing my S's. It just sounds not so harsh. And again, if I bypass the de-esser altogether, it sounds like this. I seem to do it. Ooh, that's really harsh. Let's turn that back on. I seem to do it. 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 I think that's a good spot. I noticed that if I turn my threshold down even more than that, it kind of starts affecting the tone of my voice that's not even doing an S sound, because that frequency is present in your regular tone. So you don't want to make that beginner error over de-essing, and then it will affect your whole voice. Another problem people run into, they might have found their right frequency, they might have even dialed in the right threshold, but it's still not feeling right. And that's probably because they've put this plugin in the wrong spot in their vocal chain. We're often taught that we should put our plugins that help clean up the sound towards the top of the chain, which is why I have my EQ and then my gate towards the top, but I actually like to put my de-esser last because I tend to have like some upward compressors giving my vocals a boost. And so if I had just turned my S's down, my upward compressor is probably just gonna turn them back up. So I actually like to save the de-essing for the end. If I had put this further up here, I know for a fact I would have had to pull this threshold down to the extreme because I already know my upward compressor, my limiter, would pull those S's back up for me. So if I did, for for whatever reason, put it towards the top. And if you're of the camp that believes in putting de-essers towards the top, just know that your threshold's gonna have to be more aggressive than if you put it on the bottom. And I don't like making my plugins work that hard. You'll definitely run into that issue if you like to use high-end exciters or saturation in your vocal chain. Things like Decapitator or the God Particle are definitely known for boosting those S's unnecessarily high. And guys, this is just one video in a series where I'm going in depth on one plugin at a time in our vocal chain. I highly recommend mastering how to dial in your own settings on each of these plugins, even though with the Kimera audio plugins, I do set my factory defaults to optimal vocal settings. You still should know how to tweak them to your own voice and make educated decisions on your mixing. So check out this playlist where I go over these plugins one by one. There's a ton of helpful videos in there. Make sure you're subscribed, and I'll see you in the next video.